Before we begin, let's just take a moment together. Take a deep breath in and let it out. Let's find our center. Hi guys. There's something no one wants to say out loud anymore, so I will. We live in a culture where conversations about past relationships and sexual history have become charged, defensive, and often confusing. If a man brings it up, he's sometimes labeled as insecure. And if a woman avoids it, she's sometimes seen as empowered or private. But here's what rarely gets said in a balanced, emotionally intelligent way. Your past can matter, not as a number, not as a label, but as a pattern. It can influence how someone forms attachment, how they communicate, how they handle intimacy, and how they show up in a long-term connection. You don't need a specific number to understand someone. What matters far more is how they talk about their past, how they frame it, and what it reveals about their emotional world. Because people rarely tell you everything directly. More often, they reveal themselves in subtle phrases, repeated beliefs, and emotional patterns that sound normal on the surface, but carry deeper meaning underneath. I'm Mary Smith, and this is the Mindful Senior Living YouTube channel. We explore emotional intelligence, relationships, and the psychology behind human behavior in a way that helps you make wiser, calmer, more grounded decisions in your life. And today, I want to slow this conversation down, take the heat out of it, and help you actually understand what to listen for. Have you ever been in a situation where you felt unsure about someone's past? Not because of what they did, but because of how they talked about it? That feeling matters. That intuition matters. Because relationships are not built on perfection, they're built on clarity, honesty, and emotional availability. What I'm going to share with you today is not about labeling anyone. It's about understanding patterns of communication that can signal deeper emotional habits. So as you listen, don't think in terms of judgment. Think in terms of, is this aligned with the kind of relationship I want to build? One phrase you might hear is, body count is just a number. Now on the surface, that sounds reasonable. It sounds like someone trying to de-emphasize something they believe shouldn't define them. But what matters is the emotional tone behind it. Is it said calmly, openly, with a willingness to have a deeper conversation? Or is it said defensively, quickly, as a way to shut the conversation down? Because when someone avoids depth, it often signals discomfort, not necessarily guilt, but unresolved feelings. Research in relationship psychology shows that people who can openly reflect on their past without defensiveness or minimization tend to have higher emotional intelligence and stronger long-term relationship outcomes. It's about whether they've processed it. Another phrase you might hear is, if men can do it, women can do it too. This framing can sometimes shift the focus away from personal values and toward comparison. Healthy relationships are not built on what others are allowed to do. They're built on shared values, mutual respect, and aligned expectations. So instead of getting caught in that debate, a more grounded question to ask yourself is this: what do I value in a partner? What kind of emotional connection am I looking for? You might also hear, I just like my freedom. Independence is healthy. But in psychology, the meaning of freedom can vary widely. For some, it means growing within a relationship. For others, it can mean avoiding commitment or emotional vulnerability. The key here is clarity. What does freedom mean to them specifically, and does that definition align with your vision of a relationship? Because misalignment here can lead to confusion and emotional frustration over time. Another phrase that can come up is, sex doesn't really mean anything to me. When someone says this, it doesn't mean they're broken, but it can sometimes indicate a history where emotional connection and physical intimacy became disconnected. There's research around attachment styles that shows how repeated patterns can lead some individuals to develop avoidant tendencies. It's not something to judge, it's something to understand. You need to know if they have access to that level of connection. Then there's the phrase, I don't regret anything. I learned from every experience. There's a difference between genuine self-awareness and reframing everything in a way that avoids accountability. True growth includes recognizing mistakes. When someone can say, I made choices that didn't align with who I am today, that's powerful. That shows emotional maturity. But when everything is framed as purely positive, it can signal that the deeper reflection hasn't fully happened yet. None of these phrases on their own define a person. Context matters, tone matters, consistency matters. What you're looking for is a pattern of communication that shows honesty, self-awareness, and emotional availability. What truly matters is not how many experiences someone has had, but how those experiences have shaped them. Have they become more grounded, more self-aware, more capable of love and commitment, or are they still navigating unresolved patterns? If this conversation is resonating with you, take a moment to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. I'd love to hear your perspective. These conversations help all of us grow when we approach them with openness. There's another phrase that often appears, and it sounds harmless. Someone might say, "Everyone has a past." Technically, that's completely true. No one enters adulthood with a completely blank slate. But the interesting thing is when and how it's used. Often this phrase appears at the exact moment when deeper questions surface. What's happening here isn't necessarily deception. In many cases, it's discomfort. Human beings naturally move away from areas that make them feel exposed or vulnerable. Instead of reacting with suspicion, the wiser move is curiosity. Healthy, emotionally mature people are usually able to talk about their past in a reflective way. They can say things like, "I made some choices back then that taught me a lot." This signals integration. The past has been processed. There's a concept in psychology called narrative identity. Individuals who can describe their past honestly tend to have stronger emotional regulation and healthier relationships. Now, another phrase you might hear is, "It was just a phase." Let me tell you about a man named Daniel, who once wrote to our channel. Daniel was in his early 60s and had recently started dating again after a long marriage ended. He met a woman who told him she had gone through a wild phase in her late 30s. She didn't hide it. She said she had been hurting, looking for validation. But what impressed Daniel wasn't the story itself, it was the reflection behind it. She explained how therapy helped her understand her attachment patterns. She shared what she learned about boundaries and communication. That's the difference between a phase and avoidance. One acknowledges growth. The other simply renames behavior. I want you to pause and ask yourself, when people in your life talk about their past, do they speak with reflection or with deflection? Reflection sounds like curiosity about oneself. Deflection sounds like quick labels to move the conversation along. Now, another phrase that sometimes appears is, "I don't get attached easily." On the surface, this can sound like emotional maturity. But attachment psychology teaches us that this phrase can mean several different things. For some, it means they take time to build trust. That can be a healthy sign. But for others, it can reflect avoidant attachment, learning that closeness leads to disappointment. The nervous system adapts by creating distance. It's a survival strategy. Imagine two individuals entering a relationship. One bonds deeply through closeness. The other instinctively pulls away whenever things start feeling too close. The mismatch can create a cycle that leaves both partners feeling misunderstood. Let me share another small story. A viewer named Robert once commented on our discussions about attachment styles. He described dating someone who often said she didn't get attached easily. At first, Robert interpreted that as confidence, but over time he noticed something. Whenever the relationship started becoming more meaningful, when plans for the future came up, she would pull away. She would become distant, busy, unavailable. Eventually, she admitted that closeness made her anxious. That honesty actually opened the door for real understanding. Because the problem was never the past itself. The problem was the silence around it. And this is the lesson. The most important thing in relationships isn't perfection. It's transparency. When people can talk about their experiences honestly, they create space for trust. When they avoid or minimize those conversations, confusion tends to grow in that empty space. This is especially true for those navigating dating later in life. Many viewers of Mindful Senior Living are over 50, 60, even 70. The dating landscape can feel completely different. People have longer histories, more relationships. That's normal. Don't try to find someone with a perfectly clean story. The wiser goal is to find someone whose story has led them to emotional wisdom, someone who has learned about themselves, someone who can speak about their past without defensiveness or shame. Emotional maturity often comes from experience. If you've been enjoying this conversation, take a moment to subscribe. In our next video, we're going to explore something even deeper: the psychological patterns behind these phrases and how repeated experiences shape your nervous system. Understanding those patterns can completely change the way you see relationships. I'll see you in part 2. Until then, stay mindful. As you sit with everything we've been talking about, I want you to notice something subtle but powerful. None of these phrases we've explored are inherently bad. They're not red flags in isolation, they are signals. And signals only become meaningful when you understand the pattern behind them. This is where most people go wrong in relationships. They don't lack intelligence. They don't lack good intentions. What they lack is pattern recognition. And once you begin to recognize patterns, something shifts inside you. You stop reacting emotionally to every word someone says, and you start observing more calmly. You start asking yourself, is this consistent? Does this align with their behavior? Let's go deeper into the psychology behind repeated experiences and how they shape emotional connection over time. There's a concept in neuroscience called neuroplasticity. It simply means that the brain adapts to repeated behaviors. Whatever we do over and over again, whether it's how we think, how we respond emotionally, or how we connect with others, our brain begins to treat that pattern as normal. It becomes familiar. It becomes automatic. Now, apply that to relationships. If someone has had a long history of short-term, emotionally disconnected experiences, their brain may become accustomed to low emotional investment. Emotional detachment can become the default setting, not the exception. On the other hand, someone who has spent years building deep, emotionally present relationships often develops a stronger capacity for connection. Their nervous system is familiar with intimacy, communication, and emotional vulnerability. This doesn't mean people can't change. Of course they can. Human beings are incredibly adaptable, but change requires awareness, intention, and often a period of discomfort where old patterns are challenged. Let me bring this to life with a more detailed example. There was a woman named Elaine who shared her story during one of our community discussions. Elaine had been married for over 25 years before losing her husband. After some time, she decided to start dating again. She met someone who was charming, attentive, and very easy to talk to. On the surface, everything felt right. But as their conversations deepened, Elaine noticed a pattern. Whenever the topic of past relationships came up, he would keep things light. He'd joke, change the subject, or give very short, polished answers. Now again, nothing alarming on the surface. But Elaine, having lived through decades of a deeply connected marriage, understood something important. Depth recognizes depth, and it also recognizes when depth is missing. So instead of confronting him, she stayed curious. She asked open-ended questions. Over time, it became clear that he had spent many years moving from one short-term relationship to another without ever really engaging emotionally. He had never built the habit of emotional presence. Elaine recognized that what he was offering did not align with what she still desired: a relationship with emotional depth and stability. That clarity allowed her to step away peacefully, without drama, without resentment. That is what awareness gives you: clarity. Now I want to bring your attention to something even more important. It's easy to analyze others. But the real question is, have you taken the time to understand your own patterns? Because relationships are interactions between two sets of experiences. Ask yourself honestly, how do you talk about your past? Do you speak about it openly with reflection and ownership? Or do you minimize it, avoid it, or frame it in a way that protects you from discomfort? Do you know whether you tend to move closer or instinctively pull away? Let me give you a powerful exercise. Take a quiet moment and write down the last 3 significant relationships you've had. And for each one, ask yourself, what drew me to this person? What challenges eventually emerged? And what did I learn about myself? Don't rush through it. Be gentle with yourself. Because the goal here is not to judge your past. The goal is to understand it. When you begin to see your own patterns clearly, you stop repeating the same dynamics unconsciously. Your choices become intentional. Now I want to touch on something that might feel uncomfortable. There's a difference between someone who has lived through many experiences and grown from them, and someone who has repeated the same experience many times without growth. From the outside, they look very similar, but internally, they are completely different. One has developed insight, the other has developed repetition, and the only way you can tell the difference is through conversation, through listening, through paying attention to how they reflect on their own life. Do they take responsibility for their choices? Do they show understanding of their patterns? You deserve a relationship where you don't have to guess how someone feels, where you don't have to decode every sentence. That doesn't mean perfection, it means openness. So as you move forward, take this awareness with you. Listen carefully, stay curious, and most importantly, stay grounded in your own values. Because the right relationship will never require you to ignore your instincts. It will align with them. And now, as we bring all of this together, I want you to notice how different this conversation feels. There's no need for judgment or blame. What defines people, what truly matters, is awareness, accountability, and the direction they've chosen to grow. I want you to walk away with something valuable, a way of listening, a way of understanding people that allows you to stay calm, clear, and in control of your own emotional decisions. You stop being easily influenced by language alone. You start paying attention to consistency. Imagine you're sitting across from someone you're getting to know. The conversation turns naturally toward past relationships. In that moment, you don't need to react. Instead, you stay grounded and you lean into curiosity. You might gently say, "What did that time in your life teach you about what you want now?" Do you see the difference? You're not interrogating, you're inviting reflection, and the response you receive will tell you everything you need to know. Someone who has done the inner work will meet you there. They may even admit things that aren't perfect, but they will do so with honesty. Someone who hasn't processed their past will often stay on the surface. They may redirect. And again, this is not about labeling them as good or bad. It's about recognizing whether the two of you are emotionally aligned, because alignment is what creates peace in relationships. Now I want to give you another exercise. The next time you have a meaningful conversation, focus on 3 things. Focus on how they describe their past. Observe how they talk about other people. And finally, notice how you feel during the conversation. Your emotional response is data. It's information your mind and body are giving you. And too often, people ignore that information because they want things to work out. But clarity comes from paying attention, not from forcing something to fit. Let me share one final story. There was a woman named Patricia who found love again in her late 60s. She told me that earlier in life, she used to focus on impressing the other person, trying to be what they wanted, overlooking inconsistencies. But this time, she did something different. She listened more than she spoke. She paid attention to patterns instead of isolated moments. When she met the man who would become her partner, she noticed something right away. He spoke with honesty, with reflection, with a quiet sense of accountability. And she said something that stayed with me. She said, "For the first time, I didn't feel like I had to guess who someone was. He showed me." That's what you're looking for. Not perfection, not a spotless history, but clarity. Someone who shows you who they are through consistency. If you've been in situations where you felt confused, where you felt like you had to read between the lines constantly, I want you to hear this clearly. You don't have to live like that anymore. You can choose clarity, you can choose to slow down, to observe, and to listen deeply. And yes, that might mean walking away from connections that don't feel aligned, but it also opens the door for something much more meaningful. A relationship where you feel secure, understood, and emotionally connected. Go ahead and like the video, subscribe to Mindful Senior Living, and share this with someone who needs it. People will always tell you who they are, not always directly, not always in perfect words, but through patterns, through tone, through consistency. Your job is to recognize whether they align with the life and relationship you truly want. When you learn to do that, you don't just protect yourself, you empower yourself. Until next time, take care of yourself, stay mindful, and I'll see you again very soon.